If you want to be married, if you want to be in a healthy relationship, you are going to have to be a simp and you're going to have to be a pick-me. Sorry. Hi everyone, my name is Maka Onilafor, and I'm here to make the invisible visible. Happy Valentine's Day and happy Galentine's Day to all you ladies who will be celebrating with your girlfriends. I wanted to come on and make this video. It is an exclusive video and it's invite only. And if you clicked on the video, then that is your invitation. So thank you for clicking, and also shout out and thank you to all of my subscribers for riding with me for all this time. So I'm going to be sharing something here, and I've been inspired by Devale and Khadeen Ellis, who have been lately doing, seems like they're on a tour to promote their new book. And their book is called We Over Me. And what inspired me to do this video is that I also recognize that I'm sure it's strategic on their part to create this book around the time of Valentine's Day. Now, Valentine's Day, I know, can be a very triggering day for a lot of people. For some people, it's a very happy time. They make plans with their partner, their significant other, their girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife. They go out to dinner, they buy gifts and so forth. But for others, this day can be very sad and depressing. And it can also be very confusing. If you've had Valentine's Days year after year that have been just not what you wanted it to be. So I thought it would be great for me to come on and deliver this message around this time, regardless of what space you're in. Because I think that as a culture and as a society, we throw around a lot of terms like pick me, like simp. And it seems that specifically in the Black community, there is an attempt to not be these things. It is, I'll define them. And I'm just going to give my definition because these are both, I guess, considered slang terms. But a pick-me is a woman who will do any and everything for her man. And in some cases, it could be a woman who doesn't have a man who is trying to do any and everything to get a man. Okay, so that is a pick-me. And then a simp is a guy who people say, I guess he is, maybe not exhibits certain characteristics that may not always be masculine. He can also be vulnerable, maybe in touch with his emotions, soft at times, and so forth. So those are some of the examples. And in terms of who is referred to a simp, well, Devale has been referred to as a simp, as well as Russell Wilson, who is Sierra's husband. Those are some examples of guys and people who are referred to as simps. Now, I'm going to debunk that because it is in my humble opinion that if you want to be married, if you want to, again, have a healthy long-term relationship, you may not have to be 100% simp, but you are going to have to exhibit some simp qualities. You are going to have some simp tendencies. It is unavoidable. If you want to have a close relationship with a woman, most women are in touch with our emotions. Many of us are emotional beings. We are nurturers. We like to talk. We like compliments. We like, there's just certain things that you have to be in touch with a certain side of yourself to really make a woman happy. And so it's just so interesting to me that a lot of what is considered as simping is actually the qualities that one needs to be successful in a relationship. Devale, as I mentioned, who is started off as a football player, and he transitioned into acting, and him and his wife Khadeen, they actually have, they're most known for their YouTube series and their podcast. So they have built an entire empire. They have 4 children. And again, like I said, a lot of men, Devale himself has admitted that men have called him a simp. And he's been married for 20 years. And again, he talks very openly about the fact that his relationship is not perfect. It has not been perfect. The journey of being married, a young married couple, of course, cannot possibly be perfect. However, he's doing it, right? And they seem to have a very successful relationship. Now, Khadeen, on the other hand, is also admitted to her being called maybe not so much a pick me, but submissive, which is essentially almost the same thing. And because a pick me, a woman who is a pick me or otherwise known as a pick me sha, is in fact a submissive woman, a woman who is willing to submit to her husband, her man, her, ideally. I mean, I guess it could be a little tricky when we're in the girlfriend boyfriend phase, and I am going to say something about that here in a minute, but essentially Khadeen has been accused of being very submissive, and I guess in many cases too submissive. But I have not read their book, but with listening to their interviews, it sounds like she is just a strong woman, very strong woman. And I think Khadeen has figured out that to be a wife, to be a good wife, to be to embrace marriage and a healthy relationship, there is a level of, I guess I'll call it submission, that one has to undertake, especially if you are with a masculine man. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, what are you talking about? You just talked about being a simp, and now you're talking about a masculine man. I believe that those two can exist in the same person. You can be a masculine man, but you can also exhibit simp-like tendencies when necessary. And it seems to me that Devale and Khadeen have figured that out. Their book is called We Over Me. And like I said, I haven't read the book, but one of the main points is that your mindset has to always revolve around what is good for the couple, what is good for the marriage, what is good for the partnership. And to do that, there's a level of emotional intelligence that needs to exist, not just on the part of the woman, but also on the part of the man as well. And there also has to be vulnerability. And I know that this term is something that many people run from, specifically in our modern culture and in our modern society. People are afraid to be vulnerable. But that is one of the main qualities that one must have if they want to have a successful relationship. You have to be willing to be vulnerable. And a simp is a guy who apparently is in touch with his vulnerable side. I have seen Devale cry on, national television. He was actually on Black Love, the series Black Love, when it was on air. And the first time I didn't even know who he was. The first time I saw him, he was crying. And he was crying, I guess, about his relationship and just, I don't know, he just got emotional over something to do with a question that was asked of him. And now I don't mean that you have to cry. I mean, there's no one way to simp, okay? And there's no one way to be a pick-me. But why is this invite only? Well, because there are certain people who really want to crack the code and figure out love. I am one of those people. And I remember many years ago thinking, I just wish there was some kind of book I could read that kind of tells me, how to do this, how to get there, how to sustain a healthy relationship. And the reality is there is no one way. But there are codes that can be cracked. And I think one of them is, as a woman in particular, understanding men. The more you understand men, or at least the man that you are with, or the man that you want to be with, the more you understand that, it helps a lot. It helps so much. I have been over the last few years learning more and more about what to say, what not to say, what can be triggering, what can be emasculating, what can cause an argument, and I'm not perfect with it at all, not perfect. But I think I'm really trying to understand, okay, and not to say that all men think the same, but I think there are some similarities with the way in which many men, specifically masculine men, think. And the more you understand that, the more you can kind of navigate it and not trigger certain things. An example of a trigger can be, many of us Black women are college educated, we're smart, a lot of us know what we're talking about often. And in conversation with a masculine man, one of the things that can be triggering is if you are communicating like a know-it-all, and even if in that instance you feel as though you know more than he does, but it can be very triggering when you are, overly opinionated and argumentative and combative, or just, I don't know. There's a way in which you have to speak to a masculine man, okay? But what happens is that once you start figuring out how to communicate, and again, it doesn't mean that you are walking on eggshells. It doesn't mean that you are like mute and, silence and things like that. It means that you have to learn how to be effective. And the more you practice that, you will find that if you are with a masculine man, you might be able to bring out some simp-like qualities. Now, again, this is not offensive, right? I'm not trying to say that, I'm not trying to say, oh, if you're a masculine man, you're going to become a simp. No. But again, this is Valentine's Day, right? So we know that to make this day special for most women, they want to be taken out. They want flowers. They want gifts. They want compliments. These are all the things that falls in the category of being a simp when men do these things. But these are the things that women want. And these are also the things that I believe can help sustain a relationship. So I personally don't buy into the whole, I use the terminology simp, pick me, but really what those things mean is those are just qualities that couples have when they want to work together, when they want to make each other happy, when they want to be of service to each other. And that is what Devale and Khadeen talked about most, was this idea that, marriage and having a healthy relationship and a healthy partnership is about service. You wake up every day and you don't think of, well, how can I get what I can get from this person? Or what is this person going to do for me? But what can I do for them? How can I help them? How can I be of service to them? That is what has sustained them for the last 20 years. So, I think that is very important to think about. Now, the trick is figuring out who should you not be of service to. So I know that is, even for me, everyone is not deserving of your pick-me-sha qualities, right? Like, that's not for everybody. And it's figuring out, well, who is it for? Obviously, if you're married, then yes, for your husband. But many of you are not married. Some of you want to be married. Some of you maybe have ended a marriage or ended a relationship. And of course, you don't want to off the bat meet somebody and be like, hi, my name is, Keisha, and I'm a pick-me, and I'm willing to do any and everything for you. No, because that is going to trigger predators to then, try to use you and things like that. So this can be a tricky territory, is how do you figure out who is deserving of your pick-me-sha qualities? How do you figure that out? How do you navigate that? And, I guess in terms of what I can say about that, in terms of what I can say about that is, it needs to be reciprocal. That is one thing. So never ever would I recommend a woman be a pick-me or a pick-me-sha to a man who is not simping for her, right? Like, it needs to be reciprocal. So if you are giving and in service and vulnerable and open and emotional and nurturing and all those things to a man, the goal is that he should be exhibiting those same things in return. And if it is a one-sided situation where you are giving so much and opening up so much and being extremely vulnerable and all that, and you're not getting even half of that in the return, then that might indicate that there is an imbalance in your relationship, and perhaps you should re-examine. So take all of this with a grain of salt. I am no expert on this. I am not a relationship coach. I am just a person sharing on this special day of Valentine's Day. I'm wanting to come on here and just sharing with you all what I am learning so far. So comment below and let me know what you think about this term simp versus pick me. What do you think about women and being submissive? And what do you think about masculine men? And just what do you think about this entire topic? Comment below, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned as always for more videos.